Yo, what is up everybody? Chris here from Fake Sports News, back at it again with another video. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys a quick recap of what happened yesterday, as well as a preview of what to expect today during Saturday's matches. Of course, yesterday we kicked things off with the LA Thieves taking on the London Royal Ravens, and like I said, the Thieves made pretty quick work of the Ravens. It was a pretty close matchup. The hard points were pretty close. The Ravens looked pretty good, but the Thieves were able to take it, and they won 3-1. Like I said they would, so that prediction held. Thieves looked really good, and now they're 4-0 on the season. So their matchup against the Dallas Empire on Sunday will decide seeding going into the first major. Personally, I think the Thieves will take it, just because the New York Subliners really did push Dallas to the brink. They almost 3-0'd them, and then they just kind of gave up, I guess, their gains. So we'll see how it goes on Sunday, but as things stand, I expect the Thieves to walk away with the victory. Our next matchup, we saw the Toronto Ultra taking on the Paris Legion, and the Legion, they looked really good. They came out and they handled Toronto in a Game 5, so they beat them, I believe, 6-3 in the map 5, and the Ultra, they had a 209 to 120, I think, lead in hardpoint, and then they just couldn't get a kill to seal the deal, get the 3-1 victory. So that was an interesting way for the series to end, and I think that their loss of composure in that hard point made them tilt to the point where they choked the map 5. So that was an interesting series, and Paris, of course, moved up the ladder while Ultra moved down. So it'll be interesting to see how things go in the matchup with the LA Gorillas, because I think at this point Paris is guaranteed a top 3 spot based on the fact that they beat Toronto in the head-to-head. So that matchup was very important for seeding going into the major, and unfortunately Toronto was not able to pull it out, so I think they will get a lower seed going into the losers bracket going into our major, even if Paris lose to, of course, Atlanta Faze. Now looking at our last matchup of the day, we had the Dallas Empire taking on the New York Subliners, and the Subliners, I mean, they had them dead to rights. Like, they were up, I believe, 2-1 on the control, and it was 2-0 at that point in the series. They won the search, they won the hardpoint, they smoked Empire in the hardpoint and the search. They were really dominating them throughout the beginning of the series, and then Dallas really clutched up. They showed their composure, they showed why they're world champs, and they won back-to-back-to-back, and they swept them all the way through the end. So it was a great showing for Dallas, but I don't know what to think if I'm a New York Subliners fan, right? Like, is that encouraging? Is that discouraging? Like, if you're close to beating the best team in the world, as many people claim Dallas Empire to be, including myself, I don't know that if you lose to them, you can really assert that you're moving in the wrong direction, but can you really assert that you're moving in the right direction on the same token, right? Like, if you have the chance to 3-0 them and make a statement and cement yourself as one of the top teams in the game, and you throw that away, what does that mean? So that's what we have to see with the New York Subliners matchup against the Seattle Surge. If they beat the Surge convincingly, either 3-0 or 3-1, that'll really kind of change things for me. It'll make me think of them as a top-tier team once again. But if they struggle against the Surge, then it'll really prove that they got, they were hot against two teams who might be not as great as we think, right? Minnesota's 2-2 now, and the London Royal Ravens, I believe, are, 1-4 or 1-3? So, no, actually, they're 0-4. So, yeah, I don't know that really means a lot if you go 2-2 and the two teams that you beat are not really great teams, right? Like, what does that really say? So we'll see how things go for them on Sunday. That'll be important, telling us what kind of form they're in. And now I'm going to switch over to looking at today's matches. Of course, as you guys can see on the screen, we kicked the day off with Atlanta Faze taking on the Paris Legion. This is a pretty safe minus 1.5 for me. Faze looked really good in their last series going up against the Ultra. I liked the composure that they showed in that series. It really told me a lot about their team and just their overall, I guess, teamwork and their level of composure, like I said. As we saw last night, composure does mean a lot. The New York Subliners, they lost their composure and they lost the series as a result. So I think Atlanta Faze is a safe lock to take this series. I have them as a minus 1.5. I also have them as a Moneyline lock. And in the next matchup, of course, we have the Minnesota Rocker taking on the London Royal Ravens. I have this one as a Moneyline lock for the Rocker. I think this will be a 3-1, but based on their last matchup against, of course, New York, where they got 3-0'd, I'm not really sure what to expect. I don't know if that matchup will shake their confidence a little bit, or if it'll make them go back to the drawing board, let's say with their coach Brian Saint, and really come out hot, trying to make a statement against the Ravens. On the same token, I think that the Ravens will really be coming out to try to make a statement saying, hey, we're not the worst team in the game, right? They're the only team with 0 CDL points, so as it stands, quite literally, they are the worst team in the CDL on paper. So I think they really have some fire burning within them now, and I think they're going to come out trying to really prove everybody wrong, right? Like, we've all been doubting them at this point. We think that their team is not good enough, that they need to make a change. Some of us. I don't really think that. I think they have a good, solid core, but they just need more time. So I think Ravens will come out. They'll try to make a statement, and for that reason, I think that maybe a hard point will go their way. Not necessarily a search. They've not looked too great in search, but I think they could take a hard point. And yesterday, they did take a control, so I think there's potential for them to take a map somewhere along the way, but I'm a little bit less convinced that they'll take a control just because Minnesota is such a good control team from what we've seen. So for that reason, I think it's a 3-1. I think maybe the London Royal Ravens take the opening hardpoint and shock Minnesota, and then Minnesota sweep the rest of the way through. Or they take a map somewhere along the way, maybe a search. Maybe they shock us today, take a search. So I do think it's a 3-1. I'm pretty confident in that, but we'll see. The Ravens might have something to prove. Of course, in our last matchup of the day, we have the Toronto Ultra taking on the Gorillas. And this is an interesting matchup because Toronto is in really bad form, I guess you could say, after their showing against the Paris Legion, which I don't really know that I call that bad form. Paris Legion are definitely a top 8 team in my opinion, and Toronto Ultra are also a top 8 team. So with Tier 2 Call of Duty, it's always a little bit harder to predict who will win because as we saw yesterday, the Paris Legion, they're a much better team than people give them credit for. So it's hard to predict where they'll come out in some of their matches. Same thing for Toronto Ultra. Honestly, I think sometimes we might overrate them just a little bit. They do have some clear, glaring issues in terms of their composure and just the way that they play certain situations. So it's a little too early to say that Ultra are, let's say, a top 6 team, right? I think they're definitely a top 8 team, but where they stand in that top 8 is still being decided, and this matchup will do a lot in helping us to decide where they stand. If they beat the Gorillas, then obviously they're a top 8 team, but if they lose to the Gorillas, then we have to start a different dialogue, right, about whether or not they are a Tier 2 team or if they've crept into Tier 3, since they've only won one series this entire split of the Pro League going into our first major, right? So we'll see how this goes. This is a very important matchup for Ultra, also a very important matchup for Gorillas. They're going to be trying to move themselves up the ladder, as it were. They don't want to be in dead last place for seeding going into the major. So we'll see who comes out on top here. As it stands, I have the Ultra winning this, and I'm going to be taking Moneyline Ultra today. So if I were you guys, I would definitely rock out with Moneyline Faze and Moneyline Rocker. Ultra Gorillas, I'm not too sure about, so that one you might want to stay away from. But as it stands, I think minus 1.5 Faze, minus 1.5 Ultra. I think those are pretty safe given their competition, but obviously anything can happen, so take it with a grain of salt. Don't put like all your money on minus 1.5 with those two. And Moneyline Ultra, I think, is relatively safe. I think they'll be coming out today trying to make a statement, trying to correct a lot of their mistakes going into the major. But on the same token, the Gorillas did look really great in their last showing. Of course, they played Optic Gaming Chicago, and they pushed them, right? So I think that this will be a very important matchup for both teams, and for that reason, it's very hard to take a handicap or something because we don't know how this is going to turn out. Like, S&D is a strong game mode for both teams, right? Like, the Ultra are very strong in search, but so are the Gorillas, so that one's pretty hard. And then Hardpoint, of course, the Gorillas took off Optic Chicago, but Hardpoint is where the Ultra almost beat FaZe, and they almost beat Chicago as well. So this series, I don't know that I'm going to be going map by map with this one. It's going to be very hard to predict, and I don't want to torch cash. So I would advise you guys to just take Moneyline for either team, whichever one you prefer. Just rock with that. I'm taking Ultra, FaZe, and Rocker today, but if you take Gorillas, I honestly would understand. It's a pretty volatile matchup. So yeah, guys, just want to bring you this quick little update. giving you a state of the union, as it were, telling you what to expect today and what happened yesterday. Yesterday was really good. The upset from the Paris Legion was very entertaining, I would say. That was a very good series. In the case of the Dallas-New York match, like I said yesterday that it would probably be one of the best matches of the season, and it absolutely was. Very, very tight. It was a great ending to it. The Game 5 was really good, really well played from both teams, and it was just great Call of Duty all around. Of course, our first matchup of the day was really exciting as well. It was great to see the Thieves in action, and the Ravens looked pretty good, so it was a really exciting matchup. We had great COD yesterday. I think we'll have great COD again today. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy the action that takes place on the CDL's YouTube channel. I'll keep the link in the description below as always. And that'll just about wrap it up for me, guys. I hope you have a great morning, noon, or night, wherever you may be on this beautiful planet. And I'll catch you on the next video. This has been Chris from Fake Sports News, signing off one last time. Peace.